are the promised people. We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people. Yes, so welcome to the promised land.
Well, now this is a third spontaneous impromptu session of the series that we promised to reach out to a global audience around the planet, all the human family. Everyone's welcome. Wherever your orientation or disorientation, you're welcome. We want to do because we see this as a life and death kind of exploration, and in a fun spirit, a joyous spirit. Because the great news is the greatest story never told is now we finally have, as never before, the code breakthrough. As represented in the hologram behind me that we've brought up in the first two episodes. And we're seeking to listen to what's the zeitgeist, so to speak, the spirit of the times, what's going on, and respond spontaneously without any curriculum or planning or anything. That you and I, over a decade of daily dialogues, you and I, spontaneous, and we often said, why don't we record when no one's listening? That's a great for a source cast from the source. And we introduced those ideas in the first two. So this is the third. And although we don't have it open for a time for streaming for the public to check in yet, once a week we're doing this in a spontaneous, fun way to deal with the most pressing issues, affecting the thriving survival and sustainability of the human family. It's that profoundly existential and the greatest story never told. And source media, which is we have media as we know it, but then we need to go to where all the great first teachers across the scriptures are speaking from a deeper media, and the mind maketh the media, as you pointed out. So, I thought that might be a great topic to just play with right now because it's so profound and so much comes out of media. Media is language. It's a place of our culture. It's a public space. And we're playing a profound role in it, and people are deeply concerned about the pernicious effect of media and AI. Pernicious meaning the harmful effects that would have, especially on the kids. But everyone's going into rabbit holes and getting captured, and disinformation, information. Where's the truth? Is there any truth left? All these issues are in our face now. So I want to just hear from you. What do you think we should focus on in this third episode? By the way, to anyone who's joining us for the first time, this one, the two prior launching of this source media, Sourcecast, not podcast, but Sourcecast, they're recorded and you get the reference to how to get back to the archive. And weekly, every time we do one, we're going to have it archived. So you can always go back and follow the link. Näthan, what do you think?
Yeah, well, we've been talking about this one for a long time and from many different angles and many different ways. But I mean, when you think about media, I mean, that word gets it's definitely a blanket term that people use. A lot of times people think of media, they think of the news, like mainstream media, or things like that. But in its most grand sense, media is the whole enchilada. Like it's the internet, it's all of the social networks, it's all the TV, it's all cable, it's all everything, it's all this. And if the word media sounds like the medium. It's the medium that pervades in all of our technology. I mean, and before there was any technology, even before written word, even or written symbols, there was language. Language is the medium.
There you are.
So what we've seen in the last however many thousands of years since we've developed the technology of language and writing, and then electronics and computers and printing press, of course, came way before, but and just you think of it as a sort of this evolution of the medium of language and communication. And right. The transmission of ideas, the promulgation of ideologies through cultures and across the planet. And I mean, in the way media is everything. Media is everything. But it's
ancient media on the cave walls.
Yeah.
Media, language.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So obviously it's grown mind-blowingly sophisticated now, and we've got such incredible technology, but I think we take it for granted as though it is neutral. And I think that's kind of one of the things we wanted to zero in on is media neutral? or is media very much a function of our consciousness, and vice versa? It kind of goes both ways. So media,
Meaning that media, whatever language, the space of language, the mind maketh media, but media maketh the mind. We say manners maketh man. In a way, to play off of that, the media, what our mind operating process, the technology of using our minds to make our language and our meaning in our world, is a space of media, and our minds play a role. And what you're saying beautifully, it's not just neutral; it's already oriented towards our gaslighting. We gaslight media. We make it. We play a role in the nature of media. So media in the derivative culture is not the same as media when the first responders of history, the great wisdom minds, so to speak, are using language and media. They're speaking a deeper media. Source media, we're calling this a sourcecast, is a deeper form of media, because you have to have an awakened mindfulness to enter mindful media, or just common sense ordinary media. Right. So I'm just augmenting what you just beautifully said.
Yeah. So what's that?
We play a role in shaping media as well as media shapes us.
Absolutely, and the audacity for us to say we're doing source media, but it's based on so much research and standing on the shoulders of all these wisdom greats who have all been in the media of our history, all compartmentalized and put in silos and separated. And we're because of your breakthrough with the code, the code markers, and understanding the two dimensions of language, the two dimensions of being, the two softwares, the two forms of media. That's why it's so source media requires that code sensitivity that's ever present. That's why we have this hologram up in the background always, to remind us of this that we're surfing two dimensions, and well, you could say
media, of language, of
language, of media, of being, of everything. Everything is, and we're conflated, meaning we're squished. Like we've got our higher self, if you want to call it that, our greatest manifestation of who we are, in the wings there waiting, but we're all suffering with our smaller selves in the lower media space. So I just want to reiterate, when we say media, remember, think of media not just as like television and internet, but it's television and internet are part of a much bigger medium of transmission and communication that we're all participating in as our language evolves and our technology evolves, and it's like it's all on steroids. So it's all moving so darn fast. Everything's coming at us in little mind bites, right? So everything's in these little mind bites, whether it's the videos that you're scrolling through, or the TikToks, or the Facebook posts or Instagrams. Everything is box, silo, all the different channels, all the different mindsets and ideologies and religions and non-religion, and oh my gosh, and we're just all overwhelmed, and we're bombarded, we're fried with single bracket media, because there's no deeper coherence, so we don't know what to believe, and so it seems like it's just one big shit show of opinions, and it's like, okay, choose this eclectic blend of whatever you want from all these different sources flying at us. We're getting so, not only getting fried, but we're getting numb to the fact that we're fried, and now we're just kind of almost like zombie-ish, so the kids, the adults, everybody. I was at my gig last night. I had a concert last night at a local bar, and before the show I went outside to just sit by the fire, and the beautiful sunsets going down. Oh my gosh, the colors in the sky, everything was just beautiful, and there was about
Sedona, yes.
Yeah, oh yes, in Sedona. Oh, it was so beautiful, and I'm just sitting there, the fire's going, and this is so nice. And then I'm looking around, and this is nothing new, of course, but it was just like, wow, it really is like this now. Every single person was on their phone. Even when the people were together, they weren't together. And the effects are insidious, and yet it's all happening so fast that I feel like we're simultaneously desensitizing to it at the same rate. So we're just so quickly slipping into fragmented media, which is creating our fragmentation within our own minds, fragmentation between all of us, everyone more or less vying for attention. And it's just one big shit show. And I'm not going to apologize to say that. It's a big shit show and it's toxic and we're fried and we're tired and we don't know what to believe. And so how dare we say source media? You know, well, that's what I want to go for in this. Why is this different? What are we doing here that's different? And
I'd like to finish up now. I want to interrupt.
I'm pitching it back with that. You know, what's it going to take for us to? Because I want to at the same time make sure that it doesn't seem like I'm just flatly putting it all down. What I think is that all the technology that we have and all of the breakthroughs are amazing, and I would even go so far as to say sacred. Harkening back to episode 2, the last episode, it's sacred, but I think it's being the media, the single bracket media effect, the silo media effect has got it by the balls, and we're really suffering from there being a complete lack of coherence and union in a deeper sense for all of us, and that also speaks to is what's true. What do you believe? You can't believe anything that's coming at you. Who do you listen to? Do you listen to the left-wing media, the right-wing media? You just throw it all out, just take whatever comes on your YouTube feed that's fed by the algorithms. We're so lost, and so I sense a sense of almost like a desperation, but also a sort of resignation amongst people. And I think that that's where my passion comes from. How do we take all this sacred technology, this beautiful, beautiful, powerful technology where we can connect? I was just talking to my cousin in India, in Goa, just the other day. We're messaging back and forth, and it's just like amazing to me that she's basically on the other side of the planet and her voice is just so crystal clear. That's kind of old news, but I'm still marveling at it. It's incredible, the technology. How do we take it, Dad? How do we take it? How do we upgrade where we are, not throw the baby out with the bathwater? How do we bring the media space to a higher level, to source media? So I know I kind of covered a couple points there, but that's closely tied into the point about truth and what do we believe.
Yeah, that's beautifully done, Näthan. I'd like to just pick up on some of those strands. There are many powerful themes you brought up, and I'd like to kind of back up a little bit and help especially any newcomers to this session who missed the first two, where we were at great pains to talk about what does this mean? And you said that where we are in a culture, in the red zone, so to speak, it's opinion, it's broken, it's Lego pieces, it's units, it's separate, it's fragmented, it's polarized, despite all of the many different worlds. In this red zone, this is software. It's a logic, it's grammar, it's a software, it's an operating system of the mind that controls us. Here we are, the person, I or we, any community here. And this is the space of a consciousness where we think and see the world, and the world is here. And we don't realize the lens we have here, the person, the lens that we're using within this space, it has a story, a narrative, reality, experience, emotions, feelings, psychological relations, politics, all religious life, all going on under the sway of the software that we don't yet see clearly, but it controls our minds. And the media, this is a media screen, so this is one space of media. And you said something that came out in our first two episodes, not in terms of truth. But in this space, I have a narrative, right? If I'm having a biblical lens and I have a biblical narrative, then let's say Moses brought the law, or Jesus is my Lord, or Allah, you surrender to Allah, and that's all going on here. And therefore, there are different narratives. And if I have a Big Bang narrative, scientific physics narrative, I have a physics world. If I have a Newton lens, I have a Newton narrative. If I have an Einstein that shifts and gives me a different narrative, and these are different worldviews and belief systems. Because a narrative that I say yes to, I can say yes or no with my judgments and my will, and I subscribe and buy in. So if I have a scientific understanding, for example, and I have a Christian understanding or a Muslim, whatever it is, those are different narratives. And what you say, well, what is true? Which one is true? They all have their own truth. Which narrative are you in? When you switch narratives, if you go from a Judeo-Christian worldview to, say, in the world of Buddha or the world of Lao Tzu or African modes of thought or feminist modes of thought, you change your narrative, you change your world, you change your facts. So what's a fact in the biblical lens is not a fact in the scientific physics lens. And so that in this space, since there is no common ground, there is no unifying force. We don't have that. We don't have a profound unifying logos. In the beginning is a word, infinite source. What is it for? What's the deepest source? We brought this up before now. But I'm just trying to rehearse what you said is, what if everyday human culture is going on here under the sway of the software that we haven't really examined, some powerful code that's given us the plus minus binary logic of all the logics we have, including cyber logic. That's one of the gifts. And we know from the great first responders who have been listening and responding across the planet, with Moses listening to in his dialogue with God, Jesus, the Logos in the flesh, surrendered to Allah. And centuries later, Rumi, the great mystical poet in the Islamic tradition, is saying, there's a field beyond judgment of right and wrong. Meet me there. These are first responders speaking from sourceware. When Jesus is speaking strangely, I am the way, the truth, and life. Right? No man cometh unto God except this way. Right? That's a different language. That's a sourceware. When Buddha is saying the noble truth, the four noble truths, there's no truth here. Truth here, small t, is I got my truth. Jesus is my Lord. Or I'm of Mosaic persuasion. I follow Moses. Or I follow Buddha. Or I follow yoga. Or whatever you have here. That is opinion. Why? Because it's true because you vote on it. It's your will that's deciding what is true. And since there are many different perspectives and many different opinions, it becomes opinion. It doesn't become truth. What makes opinion truth? The great teachers saw that this is not going to be the grounded truth when you tap into the fund of what's first, by whatever name. We're using the Greek word logos now. Not here, not logos Greek, but logos in the source science. What source science? All the great traditions that were hitherto in silos. Here's Moses, here's Jesus, here's Buddha, here's yoga, here's science. Here, and all of it in their silos, and all the great teachers, they're all in their why silos? Because this technology gives A is A, gives it a separate identity. When you have an identity, you become a Lego piece. When you're a Lego piece, you got separation. If I'm a Lego piece, I'm a Lego sapien, not a logo sapien. What's the difference? When you go into the deep space of source, the fundamental field, the unified field. Why is it unified? Because on the ground floor, whatever name you use for the infinite, it's infinitely one. It's infinite unity with infinite diversity, and you can't break it, you can't divide it, and therefore everything is interwoven. And if you can be in that space and have the software to handle the zone of connectivity and flow of ethics and well-being and flourishing, being human here or being human there, that's when you get the ground floor of truth. Without unum, if there is no unum axiom, that's what this is, the infinite unifying force that grounds all narratives, because no narrative can be without being. Nothing can be without being. This is the space of being, reality, the infinite word, the source of all narratives, of all worldviews, of all scriptures. They can't be busted, even though we silo them. Nothing can be outside of the downloading from the source. So this software is profoundly interconnected. It's I and thou. Everything is interwoven. This is the love space. This is the ethics space. You don't mess with your other. Because if you mess with your other, you mess with yourself, because you can't split. But here, I and it. When you said it's an it show, you didn't actually say that. You're right. If you make yourself an it, you objectify. If you make the other an it, you objectify him, her, nature, whatever it is. And once you objectify, it's already a form of violence. Mm-hmm. And to process ourselves in that space, this space in which we do, and I got my ID, right? So I'm a bundle of subjects and predicates that makes me who am I? And that's my ID. So I make myself an X without knowing that there's a deeper me and that every X is X. So that's a rehearsal of what went on before. The greatest story never told is finally to see, wow, we can't get what is first here. This is derivative. So even the 76ers that were laboring under the colonized space of the mind of the source, so we hold these truths to be self-evident, that we're endowed by the source with unalienable rights. This human, because this version of the human is already colonized and not free, right? And yes, we have rights, all of us, but that's the first person. When we become derivative person, become first person, first citizens, demos, we the people. Demos is a political space, the media. when we get into the source, into dialogue, sacred space, that's sacred media. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as desecrated, that's cut off.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to augment what you said so beautifully and rehearse the first two episodes to build on it now. So what you're saying is there is no fundamental truth here. It's according to your perspective. It's relativism. It's relative to the perspective, and you want to respect the diversity of different perspectives. But then my truth may not be your truth. And if you have a polarized culture, then you're going to have polarized truth. If there's no common ground, then truth is broken. And if that's the case, there's a rabbit hole there. So what narrative are you subscribing and saying yes to? What are you saying yes to? Right? Yes or no? You're subscribing to a narrative. And if you get a lot of people agreeing with you, there's a conspiracy you're breathing together into a narrative, and that gives it your truth. And you're a community of believers sharing a shared narrative. And it has its truth and its facts and its meaning. And what makes sense in one narrative doesn't make sense in another when you cross cultures and worlds. And if you're a multicultural society with multi-narratives, each relative truth to the holders and subscribers, then you don't have any fundamental truth. And there is no we the people. For example, so media here is not the same as media here. Mm-hmm. And the way to think about it is when Buddha is speaking, the great breakthrough of enlightenment is speaking into the logos, in the logos science, the science of what is first, and presenting the truth in this deep space. That's source media. When Moses is bringing the laws in dialogue with Yahweh, the burning bush is here, where God is interfacing intimately with Moses and Muhammad and Buddha and Krishna teaching yoga. Yoga is not here. You're a great yoga teacher now. And what you do, you help people get from here to move into the yoga space, into their double bracket body and mind, where it's unified. This is mind versus, this is mind body. This is space time. Every word here, take it to this space, it is now in a continuum in the zone of interconnectivity. Every word is interwoven. Every person, every dot is interwoven. So I took time to remind us, those are two different media, Lego media or logos media.
And I think that the key factor here, just like we said, media is not neutral, meaning it's not just, it's just sort of a blank slate upon which we're transmitting ideas. The media itself reflects our consciousness, just like when we say
exactly.
Yeah, so when we say we've said in other videos, maybe not in this series just yet, but this is one of the things I wanted to tackle, which is this idea of AI being new. And of course, the way we are using it in terms of technology and all that, yes, it is new, but no, actually what AI, artificial intelligence that is not organic, that is not in touch with the unified field, is essentially a synthetic form of intelligence. You could call it, instead of artificial, you could call it synthetic intelligence, is as old as language itself. So as one of the ways to think of the fall of man is not so much a fall, but more like an evolutionary process of taming the word and getting words and getting language, and not realizing the side effect is that every word, when you say, Dad, when you say A is A, as like a fundamental principle of that software, that everything is what it is. Everything gets its name tag. Everything gets, in a sense, it almost gets like contained. So we use the word silo a lot. Everything gets siloed. Everything gets objectified, and in that sense, separated, compartmentalized, atomized. And so everything's separate. That's synthetic. Right. Nothing is in fact separate. Nothing is separate. There was never a point. There's nothing that can be separate from anything else. So separation in this naive sense of objectification is not actually real. But that indeed is how our current stage and the stage of evolution we've been in terms of thought and language, that's where we've been so far for a very long time, and we didn't know. It's almost like we didn't realize we slipped into a trap where we got pulled into this objectifying mindware media, and that everything we then create, experience, do, all of it is being governed by that objectifying mind code. So of course the media is too. So what I was going to say is it's not just that media is not neutral. The viewer is not neutral. You're not neutral. It's like we sort of sit back and just sort of grant ourselves this kind of like, well, whatever comes out, whatever I see, I'm not doing anything to it. It's all coming at me, right? It's just coming at me, and I'm a clear vessel. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, pause a second, step back and look, have some self-awareness and know that you're mediaizing everything you see. Everything that's coming at you, you are participating in what that phenomenon is. It's not just coming at you.
Yeah, reality is in the mind of the beholder. Reality is in the mind of the beholder. You might say, put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Reality is in the mind of the beholder. Whatever we think, I think right now it's like I'm smiling and kind of laughing because I just think it's just so obvious in one sense. And when I really think about the culture right now, I just don't think that this is being really said or thought. It's almost like the elephant in the room is that everybody's got their mind interpretation process all over everything, except we're all acting like it's all out there. The media is out there. And it's like, wait a second, guys, we're part of the media includes us. So in other words, to have source media, it's not just about what we're doing, but it's about you, the viewer, becoming code sensitive too, becoming aware of the software that's governing your mind. And this is new. This isn't being brought out. So without having it being brought out, and then we're trying to figure out the it show all around us without even understanding we're idifying ourselves and each other and everything, we're never gonna make any headway. We're not gonna get to common ground. We're not gonna find truth. We're not gonna get to what the media ought to be serving, because as a prerequisite, we have got to we have to mind our minding, become aware of our awareness, to become conscious of our consciousness, to do that stepping back. And that's what this is really about, no matter what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The prerequisite is to understand that there's a deeply embedded code that's governing our thinking and therefore our experience and our feelings and everything.
Well said. And again, the lens of the mind, right? Whatever narrative you are buying into and subscribing to, your world, the object, the experience, phenomena, your world. People don't understand that. The screen of awareness, the narrative is flowing, right? As I said, if you have a scientific lens, you can have a scientific narrative going. If you have a biblical lens, you shift your lens, and that's where the mind plays a role in what appears. Here's the subject thinker. This is our thought space, our subjective thinking, our minding. But this is what the object of minding.
Including if that's yourself, if that's your own inner world, can still be on that screen.
That's right. That's right. So what is showing up there is function by processing by the interpreter. To experience is to interpret. We have to read it, to spin it, and therefore to gaslight it. And then when you are using your lens to see the other world, the other person, even if you're in love and say, I love you, and you're edifying or objectifying your love, the subject has an object and you objectify. And if you objectify and you process yourself here, you're objectifying yourself as well. But when you go into the deeper space, here, the I and the other are interwoven and unbreachable, and not an object, the I and the thou. Martin Buber said there are two ways to be I it or I thou. What does thou mean? The sacred other, which means what? You're not objectifying it, you're meeting it. This is a place of deep dialogue, connection, and meeting. And that's
love. Yeah, real love. Yeah.
If you was going to have a Valentine and give a Valentine card, and you use this one and say, honey, you're the greatest thing in my life. No, don't call him or her a thing, because an object is objectified. Whereas when you meet your lover here, right, in an open space, you meet the work of art here. Now, this is the point you're making about, can you get to a deeper truth? When you're using this lens of objectifying, you're gaslighting what appears. Here's the work of art here. Here's a Van Gogh, and you're looking at it on the wall. But when you meet the Van Gogh, the other, nature, your lover, your child, whomever, the other person, this is a nonviolent meeting in the powerful place of I and thou, dialogue, not monologue, monolens. This is where we're living. And when you said, however many millennia it's taken him, millions of years to evolve, using it, you don't have to have the fall. You know, one mythology is that in Eden, Yahweh gave the directive, eat of the fruit of wisdom, eat of the code of wisdom, not of the code of Google information. Don't go into that media. The tree of knowledge, when you have knowledge, facts, the sun is shining, the grass is green, I'm a man, USA is a democracy. That's information space. But information is disinfo because it's not getting into the form. What is the word form? Information.
Mm-hmm.
But form here is broken. It's separated. Space is the form. Time is form. Color, figure, texture, motion is a form. They're all separated out, and they're deformed. But when you go into the source space, then it's well formed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so information here is disinformation, de-information, is pre-information. Mm-hmm. And to be well formed is to flow in the zone with the fabric of reality, in the I-thou space of interconnectivity with nature, with everything, and with source. It's an intimate relationship with God, with source, with reality. Mm-hmm. When you source reality in the zone, when you zone it, you can't own it, you can't objectify it. So there are two ways of using our minds. In the open space, let the Van Gogh painting, the starry heaven, speak to you, meet it in love, open. So the open mind, when you cross from mind here into the open mind, the critical mind, critical reason. This is deep reason, rational space. Why? Because the Logos is the light of reason. And is it all encompassing? Yes, it's the source of all. Plato got that, for example, and Buddha got that. Right? The infinite source, what is first, lights up the entire field. It is light. So rational light is not just like luminous here light. It is the being itself is light. Being is fire. Being is love. Being is light. That's enlightenment. It's mindful. So you could be you could be thoughtless here and live your life here and see whatever comes up in your lens and your interpretation process under the sway of a software that's cutting you off. Or if you can become a critical thinker and mind your minding, step back, right? And you go from representational language to meditative language. That's a whole different shift, a different software.
Mm-hmm.
All of the great.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're calling us to rise. So.
Yeah, likening it to light, fire, love. It's really this is what everyone wants. We're trying to get in the cave, but we need to get out of the cave. We need to get into the light. I mean, that really does speak to the heart of all this. Whatever realm we're talking about. Right now we're kind of floating around the idea of media and what does that mean in our culture and where we are. But I think we're all clear that there's a desperation and a depression and a darkness to where we are right now. And I think most people would agree with that. That where humanity is right now is heavy, is dark. So that space, that source space, that's our home. That's the promised land. That's where we belong. That's where we belong.
That's we the people. That's a demos. Demos from the Greek, the people, person.
Yeah, that's what person. Yeah, it's not utopian. It's not like some utopian idea. No. It's really it's a matter of. It's not like wouldn't that be nice? It's like, hey, if we don't do that, we're done for.
At the beginning, right? Let's normalize our suffering. We're saying, we're only human. That's my theory. That's great. You do ontology. Ontology is the science of being. We're only human. You're saying that this is who we are, and our great first responders of history over 2,500 years, right? Of opening pathways to the source, to what is first, to the light, right? But they've been in silos, and when you realize with silos, a part of the gaslighting of this software, because what is first cannot be put in silos.
Yeah,
you can't silo God, you can't silo Yahweh or Allah or Brahman or Om or Tao. Yeah, you can't. It's infinite unifying force. So pluribus, infinite pluribus is infinite. So this is the ground floor of reality.
That's the ultimate media.
That's right. Well said. And we're seeking to have source media. This is a source media source cast, not media here.
An information-based, pod That's
A
being
pod,
cast out.
right, a pod. Yeah, that's good. That's good enough.
It's not a pod. Pod is like a silo,
Exactly. It's not simulcast. It's
Sourcecast is a vehicle to come into that source space and in that light, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like the breath of life, when we can get
is
out of
life.
the asphyxiating effects of that
This
silo
is
of space.
free life. Why? Because when Jesus said, "I'm the life, I'm the truth, I'm the way," and Buddha is saying, "When you're awakened, mindful. This is mindful. This is not mindful. This is critical reason. When you're tapping the light of reason, you're out of the cave. You're in the light. What is mindful?" And what is the great first responders of great scriptures and enlightenment and wisdom teachings are saying? What? This is not good. We're hurting. We're hurting, and the evidence all around us. If you want the meaning of life, the joie de vivre, the raison d'être, reason is the raison d'être, reason to be. Right. So what you're saying is this is not just an option. It's not just it's utopian. No, this is dystopian. This is realism. Why? Because it's medically urgent that we come to be who we are.
Yeah.
The primary version of ourselves, first persons, idemos, we the people, here.
Yeah.
Right. And we suggested in another series that we've done, 1776 now, from here, that the great founders of, say in the Declaration, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Not truth here where it's not evident, it's opinion. Here's that we hold these opinions to be self-evident. So we hold these truths that were endowed by the source with unalienable rights of life, liberty, and well-being. Why haven't we gotten that? Because we've been colonized. We haven't faced the colonize of the software of the mind, which is what? Becoming a critical thinker and not using single bracket reason here, which is great. And what you said, however millennia it took to tame the logos, we tamed it. We got this technology, and it's great, and we're addicted to it. All of our arts and sciences and disciplines are under the sway of granted. We couldn't do this without this, but we think we're here, and this is what it means to be human. We're only human, and we'll give me a break. I'm limited. Right. And people are saying, no, you're scared of being human. You go into the media, the source media. It's scary to go from here to there because you have to question everything that you're familiar with and normal. So even though you're suffering and people are breaking down and there's violence and wars and, objectification and xenophobia and all the different objectifications and ethnic cleansing and wars and violence and suicidal ideation, all that, it's coming from being cut off from the place of love and flow and being, primary being. So your point is urgent, according to the wisdom of
the God, it's very, very urgent. Yeah. We should have been doing this yesterday.
Well, you and I started, I've been teaching 57 years at the college in Haverford. You're brilliant young people in the Quaker tradition. The Quakers saw some version of it. With Quakers, they call them Quakers, but really the Society of the Friends of Truth. And after 2,000 years of the evolution of the teaching of Jesus, they began to see that there's God in Christ in everyone. It's not in the Pope, it's not in the church, it's not in the cross, it's not in the scripture, it's here. Let's form a college. Let's influence the founding of America. Philadelphia, brotherly love. William Penn, Penn's Wood, Pennsylvania, right? And in a way now, Pennsylvania may be called Transylvania because we're in the trance. It's pathetic. We shouldn't laugh. We shouldn't make fun of it.
No, we have to, or we're gonna do the opposite. No, I think it's
have fun now. You and I, this is like you and I are just going to just have fun and joy because this is joy. This is the greatest story never told. It's the greatest joy. To think that, wow, we have a choice. But Buddha was right. We don't have to be addicted here. We have the right, and we're coded with this. And Jesus is right. Jesus sacrificed. So we leave this and come here. Krishna is coaching Arjuna to come here. Om. Om, sweet Om. Right? There are all these great teachers. Moses is trying to follow the laws of God to the promised land. Or what is the Martin Luther King? I may not get there with you. We're going to get here. No, we're going to get there one day. What's that about? They're all these great first visionaries are saying we're in a bad way and we can't stay. This is a titanic culture across the planet. This code, great as it is to give us information, even though it cuts us off from real formation, not disformation, but pre-formation, real form. When I see the Van Gogh, when I see the other, my lover, you're really getting the right form, not deformed. When you're in the zone as an athlete, you're in a high space, you're in peak performance, your personal best. That's what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
The double bracket code is always working.
Yeah.
Always. Overtime. And we're running out of time, aren't we? Now?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think we just hit the mark there time wise, but that's how much fun.
We've been up before 30 minutes. I don't know how long we've been going right now.
Yeah, it's been like 45-ish, something like that. But I think that's perfect.
Are you serious? This went so fast.
Yeah, because we were having fun.
It's not fair.
And the good news is we get to do this again in a week, unless we can't wait, and we'll do another one midweek.
That's right. We wanted to do this for over 5 years, and this is now we're doing it.
Yeah, we're chomping at the bit.
and just for friends joining us here now, when no one's listening, that's one of our productions, intimate conversations when no one's listening. So we can just speak our heart as we really feel, and not going after anyone. We're loving and open to everyone, wherever you are. We welcome you to join us because you have this. Each person it's a democratization of reason, of light, of truth, of being, of love, right? Of being a person. That's our birthright. Everyone. And so, we're going to do this regularly now. And if you're just joining us the first time in this session, just know we've had two, there's a third, a Sourcecast, not a podcast, a Sourcecast. We're seeking to open conversation from here. And invite everyone to dance with us in this high place, safe place, where dialogue, no judgment of the other, not putting down, not judging, as Jesus would say. This is judgmental here. We unwittingly, immediately gaslight the other with our lens from a prejudiced point of view without having done our homework to know, do I have an ideology that I'm using to see the other? And therefore laying a gaslight on the other, edifying them. That's a kind of violence, media violence. And so open media, the space of the medium of the fundamental word. In the beginning is the logos, a word. To go into this media, source media, is a place of love and non-judgmental and deep dialogue and mutual respect and ethics. And so, yes, we're archiving these, and Näthan will give you the link when we put this up. So this is the third session, and we're going to do this regularly every week. And eventually we'll do it live streaming, so you can come at a certain time. But Näthan and I are in different time zones, 2 or 3 hours apart.
And if you can't watch, I also just got them up on like the major podcast centers as well, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts and Amazon and on. So you can.
And we call it Breaking the Trance. Breaking the Trance.
Breaking the Trance is the name of this show, and and that's what we're going to keep.
Source casting, Breaking the Trance, the greatest story ever told. All of those themes. And Näthan, I want to say to any of our friends, right? Näthan is a fantastic life coach. He has experience with this. He's a gifted yoga teacher. He's a gifted musician, a source musician, and a life guide. And if you wish to get tutorials with him, that's one of the things he does. And you can find a way to connect. He'll give you a link to sign up for him. I recommend it very highly. He's brilliant, and he helps people to see this at the move. And when he does sessions with people, they come away feeling, wow, I never got this before. And they actually begin to feel the crossing. So if you'd like a personal guide session of a different kind, not guiding here, not self-help here, but self-help here, sign up with Näthan. I'm doing a kind of not a commercial. We don't.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Endorsement.
I don't have to do it.
Endorsing your Näthan.
Real, it's amazing how deep we can go in the one-on-one space, and we can do that in literally sitting next to each other. We can do it online. So wherever you are in the world, if you're interested in that, I can meet you where you are, and we can really accelerate in a way that meets you with where you're at, what you're working on. It's powerful stuff. It's really exciting.
Source medicine is life-changing, and Näthan is gifted and brilliant on that, so I highly endorse it.
I'll put a link to that below. So
thank you.
All right.
Well, see you next time. Thank you so much. And you can listen also on the audio, as Näthan said. and everyone is welcome. Tell your friends to join us, please, and check it out. And we want this to grow in terms of we the people, an awakened culture, meeting in love and ethics for the first time as ever before. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you, guys.
Well done, Näthan. Thank you.
Next week.
We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people, yes, so welcome to the promised land.